Hello, everyone, and welcome to Skari Talks, a live show where I sit and look into a camera and talk about things. The last one was really fun. We talked about the balance update in Warhammer 40,000. Today, I'm going to be talking about cheating in Warhammer 40,000. I'm going to be talking about the statement that was released by the World Team Championship organization team about the consequences of cheating and cheaters being allowed into a team tournament at the international stage. Now, this is an interactive chat. We have people in the chat that will be asking questions. I also did put a couple of opportunities for folks to ask questions on the Instagram. And we're going to be sitting down, discussing the topic. And you can let me know what you think in the comments down below. But hello to everyone in chat. Kaleth, Tabletop Chuck, Sebastian, Green Blood Crusade, good day. Today I'm more than just an Archon. I am Skari Chats. So welcome. Well, let's begin with the statement that was released by the WTC, and then I'll kind of discuss my thoughts. So the World Team Championship, for anybody who doesn't know, is an international stage of Warhammer 40,000 team competition. It's probably the pinnacle of competitive Warhammer 40,000. Las Vegas Open is big, it's flashy. The ITC circuit is big, it's flashy. There's lots of players that participate around the world. But there's nothing more humbling than getting your teeth kicked in by some person who you've never seen before on the rankings because they are a master at the game. And you thought you were cool until you went and played at the WTC and you get stomped. Some best players in the world go to this place. Each 8-person team represents their own country, and they practice a lot, and they know the game really well, and they will surprise you. It's fantastic. Hey, what's going on? Hail Hydra, Giardo, what's going on? Hello, Hicks. Hogs represent. The Dark Kin, indeed. Okay, let's dive into the statement. I'm going to read the statement first, and then we're going to talk about it. As many of you know, as many of you are by now no doubt aware, the recent Coventry GT, this is a tournament that happened in England, I believe. It was 8 rounds or something like that, had to issue 2 red cards to 2 separate players for cheating. As a fellow TO, it saddens the WTC to hear that another event found itself in such a situation, and we fully support the decision made by the GT and Warhammer 40,000 tournaments in relation to cheating at their tournament. This, together with other previous instances of players cheating or exhibiting less than favorable behavior, has prompted us, the WTC TOs, or we, the WTC TOs, to address proactively the potential issues that may arise should such bad actors attend the WTC. The World Team Championship is seen by many within the competitive 40k community as the premier Warhammer 40,000 team event, me included, where nations from all across the world come to compete as national teams to be crowned world champions. The WTC will always strive to deliver the best possible quality event to its entrants, as is befitting a tournament with such global prestige. Equally, there is a large amount of esteem attached to an individual player's attendance and participation within the WTC. And each country, by the way, has its own completely different selection process. Their respective national team, and even the global competitive 40k community as a whole. If you are a player of your national team, your name carries weight. Like, people will look up to you. New players will look up to you. It's how it works. For these reasons, the WTC feels it needs to be more proactive with regards to which players can attend the tournament. I'm paraphrasing. That is to say, in order to help preserve the integrity and prestige of the WTC, it is necessary to exclude some bad actors from attending the tournament as a consequence of their behavior both within the WTC or ETC events, as well as outside of it. Reasons for a player's exclusion may include, but are not limited to, repeated and documented cases of cheating at a tournament, conduct that is not becoming of a WTC player as per the WTC mission statement, or any other action that would bring the WTC into disrepute by way of their association as a participant in the tournament. Such cases will be treated on an individual basis, will be open for review at the TO's discretion. There are a number of players for whom the above policy already prohibits attendance to the WTC, both as a player and or as a non-player, because they are coaches and people who interact after as well. Said players and their respective or prospective teams have been contacted already and informed of how our policy will affect them. And this is fantastic. It is well known. Certain teams, certain players carry sort of like negative connotation, negative weight. And it's cool to see the WTC like put a statement together and make sort of like a standard for this. And I hope that other events, other leagues, the tournaments follow suit. And we'll discuss like the ramifications of this and how I feel about it. But I'm curious to see what you think about it. Whilst we appreciate some may feel this is overstepping the bounds of a TO's powers, we hope that the community will support us in taking a tougher stance against the so-called bad actors to ensure that the WTC continues to be the best possible experience for all attendees, as well as maintaining its status within the global competitive community as the World Cup of Team Championships. Yours truly, the WTC tournament organizers. That is the statement in and of itself. On cheating itself, I feel first and foremost, this is not overstepping the bounds of a TO's like role within building a community. I think it's not hard to not be an asshole when you're playing the game of Warhammer 40,000. It's not hard to not be a dick. You can play hard, you can play technical, you can play to the letters of the rule without cheating, without being like an asshole using weighted dice or adding models to your army that you know are not there, or changing war gear, or using relics that you know and repeatedly doing it, not just one or two instances. Now, this is to say, caveat wise, everyone makes mistakes. Even the top player who thinks they know every rule in the game will make honest mistakes at times. There's so much information in this game, it's hard to know it. The key here is endemic or systemic or cheating that is repeated over time. And I think that people who exude those bad actor things very much should be excluded from international play. Learn how to be a better person, then you can play internationally. That's my statement on this. That's how I feel. I feel like it's not hard to be nice. You know, I tend to be a very positive person when it plays. I don't tend to express how I feel about issues like this. And I know it can be very polarizing. This isn't to say that I agree with like witch hunts. Okay. I do believe that every single person, should be given a chance at redemption. But there should be consequences for people who do what they want to do with complete disregard to the social contract that we as players put up front, and that we want to be good people while we play the game. Even though you play hard, you want to play a nice, fair, clean game. It's nice to see that in itself. Spawn of Nerd says, get to the point, please. I might spawn some more ideas out of that one for you. Ronnie says, I've said this since the end of 8th. Like, why are tournaments allowing people to play with their own dice? It's like the biggest, easiest way to allow cheating to take place. Dice and weighted dice and stuff like that, 100%. Of course, it's not worth the risk of cheating, for what we gain, like prize-wise even. It's like you might get a box of stuff if you go like cheat at an event. Like, what is the point? However, I have in the past run GTs where I have issued every player a new set of dice. So that is something that I've seen players, TOs do. Tanya says, I think this is a step in the right direction for the World Team Championship becoming a unifying body for competitive play. I agree. I think that they are the standard of competitive 40k. Tabletop Chuck says, it's all silly. Spawn of Nerds says, so what caused the cheating? I don't know. What causes cheating? What makes people cheat? That is a philosophical question that I'm not going to be answering today. When can we get those green dice, says Spliff McNeely? The special Skari dice? We're going to be waiting for the shipment, to be honest. They've been stuck. They've been stuck in shipping for a while. Hot take, not hard to be nice when rolling dice. 100%. Diablo Slays says, it seems like I've missed some tea. We're sure it's fairly easy to suss out intent from the ground level. Correct. SC Hicks says, remember that a player should allow you to play with his dice. Just ask to use it when you feel it's strange. 100%. You can use my dice anytime. Will they roll as good for you as they do for me? Probably not, because they're my butt dice. Minis by Smith says, what's good, Skari? Not cheating. That's what's good. Michelle Max says, cheating. I am with you. What could be a violation in code of conduct? Some people drink and play. Would that be a violation? Trash talk while playing? What are the standards of code of conduct, says Michelle. So each tournament series has, especially in the ITC now, for example, there's a very clear-cut set of things that would be considered offenses within the game. Angle shooting someone, which is when you take advantage of their lack of knowledge, all the way to not explaining what you're doing or rolling dice without verbalizing your intent, all the way to manipulating the chess clock or just being abrasive, right? It's not just about or belligerent to your opponent. I think there's a fine line between just concocted stuff, and I like that there are more and more tournament formats that have a set code of conduct that outlines fouls, basically. And there's, of course, you have like light fouls and heavy fouls, or repeated light fouls that lead to a heavy foul, like in any sport. And I think that suspensions and bannings and things like that there should be consequences for you, like knowingly, actively, repeatedly cheating, especially, and we know people who've been playing this game for many years. There are names that pop up, right? And sometimes they stop and then you don't hear about them. And sometimes they're just a repeat offender over and over. And I think tackling repeat offenders and having a way to be like, hey, you're just constantly doing this over and over and over again. You can't go to the WTC. You cannot represent your country because you constantly are problems. There's that, I think, is a valid position for the TOs to take. Skari dice. Yeah, I will. We were going to be doing a set for Skari dice soon. Does butt dice count as cheating? Only if you're superstitious. The game is way funnier to play clean and enjoy laughs. 100%. Nick Blackburn says, I stole a bunch of your dice from this past weekend. You stole all my dice? Oh my goodness. Nick, I'm going to have to come get you. Angle shooting is none of the worst, is one of the worst for me. Someone taking advantage of gotchas before the dice are rolled, forcing a less experienced player to make an awful move that ruins the game for me. 100%. I think angle shooting is probably one of the more conniving ways to really take advantage of, especially a newer player. And I do not agree with it. It's like when somebody dodges a direct question or looks at the technical version of the question. Like if I would ask a Drukhari player, do any of your units, specifically fall back and charge? And you're like, well, none of my units have a rule that lets them fall back and charge, where technically that's true, but that's bullshit because you have a stratagem that can let you do that. And instead of verbalizing that to your opponent, you're like, I'm not telling a lie. You know what I mean? Technically, it's a stratagem. So yeah. Anyway, that's angle shooting is a dick move. Okay, so let's dive into pardon my language, by the way. It's probably gonna get demonetized super fast. I'm gonna go into the questions that I got. A couple of questions. If you have a question in chat, make sure you put it in chat right now. We'll answer a few, and then we'll be done. And this topic will be covered. Your onus is to let me know down below what your thoughts are. Make sure that you share this video with someone. Let's get your and everybody else's thoughts on what we think about this topic and how impactful a TO or league or group should be involved in curbing cheating in Warhammer 40,000, because it does happen and it is a problem sometimes, and it gives competitive 40k a bad name. And that's the thing that pisses me off the most, is that competitive 40k is really fun when done right and with the right mentality. And it's a few people that give the competitive player a bad name, and that's not cool. Doral says, statement, I missed it. You can go back and watch it all over again because it get really intense. So questions from the Instagram poll. Says CVA Voom says, what was your favorite game from the Beer and Pretzels Open? So that was a team event that happened this weekend. We came in third place with the Stud or Scrub team, which was awesome. My favorite game was playing Francois, who is #1 player in Canada right now because he recently won a GT up in Montreal, or near Ottawa. And he played Dark Eldar, and I played Dark Eldar. And I taught him a few lessons on how to play Dark Eldar. So that felt really good, and I really enjoyed that game. That was a really fun game. Dengar says, what do you expect will happen with the old world? I'm hoping that we get to play with my Tomb Kings again. That's the only thing I care about. If you want some really cool old world stuff and like Warhammer Fantasy stuff, make sure you go to Mountain Miniature Wargaming or Mountain Miniatures, the YouTube channel for Steve from Mini Wargaming, has been doing a lot of Warhammer Fantasy. Check him out. He does live streams. He plays lots of games with like the updated fan fantasy rules, and they're really, really solid. So check him out if you have more questions about Warhammer Fantasy or the old world. Giardo asks, do you feel like you should confront this person yourself, or would you recommend going straight to a referee? Cheating person, I mean. So a lot of people are not very comfortable just calling someone out directly. I personally don't mind talking to someone, even if it's a tough conversation about a rule discussion or a movement or an issue that arises in the game. I feel very comfortable having that conversation with my opponent. And if we can't find an agreement, then we bring in a judge or a referee in that sense. I feel like when it comes to cheating in Warhammer 40,000, there are a couple of issues that us as players can kind of like help with the problem. And one of them is there's a stigma attached to calling a ref to your table. And I feel like we should try very, very hard to eliminate this stigma from competitive 40K. There are TOs, there are judges, there are people who are there to ensure that everyone's on the same page. And as a player, I should not feel judged for asking for a referee or a judge to come over to my table. And I think there's that stigma attached to even calling a judge. So a lot of times people will not say anything to their opponent, even if they think something's going on. And then they won't call a judge either because they don't want to be the bad guy, right? You are not the bad guy. The person who's cheating or who's giving you a hard time or is belligerent or bullying you, they're the asshole. You should be safe calling refs. And I think we have to break the stigma attached to that. And secondly is, even if you find out that someone was cheating or you know that somebody was doing something shady in the game, you don't deal with it right away. You end up waiting till the event was done and they won, or they took a prize home or whatever, and then you talk to the TO, right, behind the person's back or whatever, and then you complain. and just bitch about this person and how terrible they were. That doesn't help either, because you need to sort of tackle it in the moment as soon as you find out, as soon as something happens. And sometimes it's a little bit later down, but as soon as it comes up, you should be going and having a discussion about it. And it shouldn't be like a malicious thing. It's for the good of everyone that goes to that event, that everybody plays the game internationally. As the game becomes bigger and gets more traction, we need to set these standards, and we need to stand up for ourselves, right? As a positive person, a positive player who wants to make sure the rules are played as is, wants to make sure that you're on the same page with your opponent. It's very important. So I think, call over a judge, and that's usually the best issue, is just bring somebody over that can mediate the whole situation, so you can remove yourself from the decision-making process. Because once the judge rules it, whether you like it or not, at least the judge ruled it, and then it takes the pressure off of you. Diablo says, I would say that technically the best bet is to just go straight to a ref. Yeah, it is very hard to do because of the stigma associated with that. It's massively impactful because tournaments help create data to adjust the game, and if people are cheating, it poisons the community and the rules. I agree with that. Maybe Games Workshop should hire you as a spokesperson for match play. Have you create a short video on expectations and behavior at a table. Give new/old a reminder on what is to be upheld between players. Well, thank you, Sam. I appreciate the note there. Games Workshop, you can hire me, sure. Canhammer, says Greenblood. They did win the event this weekend. Yeah. Dural says, I call a ref as soon as there is a rule dispute or question. Am I hated for this? Honestly, I don't care if they think it's bad. Yeah, if there's a rules dispute, call a ref over. Honestly, you can really help. And the refs are there to help mediate stuff like this. But you also need to understand that if the ref makes a call, and even if you don't agree with it, the ref made a call. And then you also have to step back and be like, okay, we'll play it that way, right? I just wish I would have known beforehand or whatever. And it's one of the reasons why, if there's ever a contentious rule or reading of a rule, before you even go to an event, if you know you're building a list around a contentious issue, like, you should be emailing the TO beforehand saying, hey, this rule hasn't been FAQ'd yet. How is it going to be ruled? Because I know it's going to come up and someone's going to say something at your event, right? So be proactive about it. I know some players have non-fair play behaviors, so I introduced an active judging, and I'm roaming around the tables. Active judging is phenomenal. If you see something being played wrong, as a judge or as a ref, I step in. I'm like, no, it's ballistic skill 3, mate, or that's a 2 CP stratagem. If I overhear something or see something's not being played properly, this whole refs have to just look at a table and can't interfere. That's bullshit, honestly. Like, you do need your refs to know the rules well to be able to interfere with stuff. However, it should, just watching somebody play something wrong and not saying anything, that doesn't fly in this day and age. Is it bad manners for a player to change a decision before dice are rolled after declaring intent if army-specific rules are then revealed they didn't know about? -2, for example. So minis by Smiths, that's a social contract thing between you and your opponent. Depends on the vibe that you have with your opponent, right? So if my opponent's going to shoot me and I'm in a forest and I have a venom, and they're like, I'm going to give myself +1 to hit to offset your -1. I'm like, whoa, I'd let them know I'm in a forest. They're like, okay, then I won't use that stratagem or whatever. I'm like, yeah, no problem, right? Because that's the kind of person. But that's more between you and your opponent. Or talk to a TO. What is their expectation with that, right? Someone wrote Skari dice, but I see none in the shop. Am I late to the party, or did I miss it? Ronnie, so we're not doing any dice yet at all. Skari motto is, don't be an asshole. Can I get this on a shirt? Says Charles. Yes, you can. Alexander says, in every other game, refs watch the whole time. They should do it at tournaments too and hope they're impartial. Yeah. The thing is, you can't have a TO a judge at every table, like at 1,000 person event like LVO. It's just not physically possible with the tools we have available right now. So it's hard to And then you've got these problem players, and you're like, well, we need one judge at this table because that's a problem player. Like, with this statement, the WTC saying that person is just not going to be allowed to come and play because they've shown repeatedly that they do not deserve to go to represent their country in an international stage because they are cheaters. They're bad apples, and I agree with that. So with that, we're going to call it there. A huge shout out to everybody who joined live for another Skari Talk. Make sure you let me know with comments down below. Like, dislike, whatever. Let me know what you think. It's really cool. I did want to send out a humongous shout out to all the channel Patreons. Pretty much all of the content I make is free. So if you want to support what I do and help me continue, the links are down below and all that good stuff, as well as everything else. I'll be doing a premiere later today for a brand new 2,000 point battle report, which will be super, super exciting. Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. I've been Skari, your grateful host, signing off until next time. Skari out. The Dark Kin. Don't cheat!